This is a mini Central Park here. It's showing you the angle also between this exhibit, this attraction, and the Met in New York, with Fifth Avenue being behind it, the opposite, just the same as Universal Studios, as Central Park, as it is the Mall Millennia, showing you going in opposite directions, showing you here. The same way show on the house that showed you go in reverse. The same way I show you here. The same way the Coleman is lined up with the Mall at Millennia, the same angle, showing you here, all together. Showing you, you'll see this, showing you that it's talking about the obelisk in New York. Here. After coming out of Park Central, Central Park, Park Central. So here it is, this would be representing a Park Central, the brain, right here. That's where I was at when I first got there. And you see, the same angle. Only difference is, here we got an actual museum, not a facade. Fifth Avenue, not a facade. Then we have here the obelisk itself, showing you the same thing you see. Showing you that what's at Universal is a mini Central Park. Park Central, the reverse, the brain. Just as I said, Park Central, Central Park, how it kept reminding me, showing you here, the same thing. Only difference is, it's the obelisk. And there they have the man standing on top of the pillar, just as I said before. When I said it was all connected. It's not magic. Not just magic, as they said the slogan, it's real. But they don't want to go with that. They want to act as though they can use slogans and words and don't stand behind them. But as you can see, what it is what it is. Now, I said I used to go to New York and go to West 90th Street to my aunt's house, and then I always pass here because I spent a lot of time here as from a child, walking a dog named Lucky from my dog Scrappy. That was our first litter, German Shepherd, walking through the park. Never felt threatened by anybody because I walked on a German Shepherd, a large police looking dog, so you didn't have to worry about that. Even as a little 10-year-old child, never had to worry about that. So here, as far as the park being dangerous and things like that, where they talked about, I never felt one bit of fear walking through this park, even as a child. And even as a teenager, I never felt one bit of threatening, any type of safety. When they used to talk about people mugging people in New York City, in Central Park, never thought about it. I used to go here with my friend, we walk out all night, hanging out, drinking, come here with my girlfriend when she came back to visit me from college on the weekends, come here, hang out with her all day, watch the little rats play around the rocks, thinking they were squirrels at first, but then realize that those were actually rocks. Come here, walk past here, because spending so much time, we wander all the way around here because it was always a nice place to be. It was my favorite place to go to. And that's why I believe that it's one of those things that happened living on West 96th Street before I left. So here it is here. 31 West 90th Street, that was our place. Here. Just here. She was on the top floor, so that terrace thing was hers. There. So this is when I walked into Universal Studios for the first time after coming here in 2014. I hadn't been to Universal Studios all that time when I came home from 2008. My first opportunity was going to an Earth, Wind and Fire concert. That was in 2013 July, and it was at nighttime. And I noticed, only saw it was at night, and I was just at the concert. And it was the first time I went into the ride. And when I did go inside, it was daylight, and I was working for Westbrook That was in April 2015 after coming back from here. And that's when I noticed that it was New York City setting because it was broad daylight. And I didn't even have my annual pass. I went there as delivering nitrogen for one of the roller coaster rides for one of the guys named Tom that was working on one of the attraction rides, the roller coaster. So this here, that was the reason why I was there, and I was able to walk in through the back. And that's when I opened up and I walked past the stage and I saw it lit up. This was a New York City setting. And I walked over and I looked and I saw that those buildings across the street from that, the pillar and the museum itself, the ride, was reminding me of my aunt's house, my aunt's place in Manhattan, here. This is what you see, like what you see here. Why is it that I could see this and I walk in and I'm reminded immediately of my aunt's place? Going up the steps, running up the steps and looking out the window at the people and watching the horses ride up and down, people ride into the park on horseback, hearing them down the street, hitting the cobblestones as they walk. To me, it was the best place to be as far as in New York City. It was always stayed in my mind, that place, here. Just as you see across the street. Now, as we say, strange it may be, truth is stranger than fiction. Now we go back and show you just as this is the museum, I said, Central Park, the Met. And I said my aunt's building across the street from the Central Park. This being in my mind, coming from Park Central, the brain. These are her buildings. This is the same as the building she was staying in. Here. That's what this is all about. So there's across from Central Park. Here. That's why there's a mini Central Park here. Park Central. The brain. Here. You think this is a joke? Kidding? You think somebody's making this up? Then you have Macy's here. Like I said, it was reverse. The same angle. Macy's in the mall. Right here. Showing you here. Where I said the sign was up. It took me back to 1996. What is 1996? 1996 is the opposite of 1969, which is say when the beans first came in. Showing you the opposite, yin yang. Now I'm showing you the same thing here. Or Universal Studios, Revenge of the Mummy, the Museum of Antiquities, and the Met, New York, where you have the inside of the Aswan. You have the mummies, you have all these things, the spirit. People think that this stuff is just dead and gone. People have no belief. People just believe that they can use it. And I said that the horses used to walk down the street hitting the bricks. Then you can hear them clocking with their horseshoes. And this is the same type of brick, stone brick on the street. You don't think I know what this is when I look at it? That's my aunt's place. And that's Central Park, reminding me of Central Park here. That's what that is. The only difference here is instead of being the obelisk itself, it's the avenging angel in its place, coming out of the obelisk itself, showing you the connection here. Knowing here, just as the obelisk in New York City points to Commander Avenue, this one points here. On the feather of truth. Here. going back to here. The brain, I said, Park Central. Central Park. Showing you Grand Central Parkway. Showing you here. The connection. Going to New York. You take a brain, something with a brain with that type of battery park loop. Here, what's a battery? Battery's energy. Here we go. Showing you something with a brain that size couldn't accomplish that. Couldn't have organized that. Showing you here, looking towards the direction of Universal Studios, which is here, showing you this. All together. Saying that I was here, talking about Park Central, Central Park, New York, the obelisk, the sun ray that came out, showing the sun ray itself represents obelisk. The obelisks that are placed around the linear area now downtown along I-4 was the eye, showing you here. Another ray, a sun coming out, showing you obelisk along I-4. Here, connected. All here. Showing you the angle. Universal Studios. Same way you see Universal Studios, the angle. Same way it said the Mall of Millennia. Millennium Mall. Here. It's all connected. Same way I said it before I left. That it was all connected. The energy coming from the Great Pyramid, showing you the Osiris energy, showing you what they mentioned as far as the scan, the heat energy itself. Showing you here the combing, the layout, the same way the angle. Showing you going the reverse side, man, woman, same here. The same as showing you Universal Studios, the Met in New York, Central Park, and the park, little park here, Fifth Avenue in the front, Fifth Avenue in the back, here, showing you the connection. Just as I said, this represents what's on the front of the house. 7 up, 7 down. 7 nights, 7 days, here, showing you the same thing. And then telling them at the same time what was going on, and then blowing it off because I'm not someone who they expect to have that or should have it. So anybody who would believe themselves to be anything other than anybody who was considered European or white, there was no respect of any type of spirituality coming out of them. That's why there was no problem killing a person like Martin Luther King or anybody else, or as medicine men and Native Americans. Never had a problem with that. Never had a problem making those spiritual leaders the example, the first to go. Because no matter what they said, imagine the people that were held as slaves as Christians, and they had a prophecy or something. You think they're going to listen to them? You think they would really hear a word of God come to somebody how can you hear a word of God come to somebody who you made your own slave? You think the slave's going to tell you something that God's going to tell you, and they're going to listen because of the fact that they're going to say, well, he heard the word, he couldn't have heard it from this or that, he had to hear it from him. You think they gave a goddamn about that? No. But now you want to act and pretend that somehow there's some revelation you're to get that it's going to be respected and respectable. You're out of your minds. The doctrine of discovery still exists. It's no more than a demonic force that took over the power of the people, took the brains, took the land, self-respect, and then replaced it with something that is so hollow that they can even pass a daggone freight train through because it doesn't have no substance to it. That's why they had to leave Europe and bring it out and use it as a tool of a weapon against most of the people of the world, and people of the world still are believing that they're seeing something that they're not, like seeing the blue moon, or some type of cow jumped over the moon, something delusional, and telling themselves they've seen something that they've seen more than God. If you've seen all this stuff, then you should be doing the miracles that Jesus is supposed to have done, walking on water, feeding people with thousands of people with a loaf of bread, doing all those things that if you read all the stuff that had more than he read before the fact that he was there, you should be doing just as much or even more than he was able to do. But now all you want to do is reiterate words that was said with nothing to it other than the fact that they sound good. And then people believe it because it sounds like, oh, how can they know that? Because you can read it, and just because you can recite something doesn't make you some type of prophet, because you were able to remember what's written in the Bible. So that means you can tell somebody what's written, so that must be the word. He didn't have to look at it. It came through him, so it must be God speaking. No, anybody who can sit there and read something, some people that have good memories, and they're able to recite things, that doesn't mean it's God speaking through them. People lost their damn minds. And you can't show none of this. Showing you here the Coleman where I went to, what it took because of the fact that they weren't going to listen to me. If I said I was Jesus Christ, if I said I was the second coming or something on that level, you think they gave a damn about that? No, they're going to say, oh, you broke the law. And then you're going to tell me, oh, you respect that and all that type of stuff. No way in the world. Because the doctrine of discovery was nothing more than a tool. The same way the tool was using the popes creating the kings in order to control the barbarians. And then they used the same method, the same blueprint to go around and use it against the people of the world. But only this time it was European. Anybody who was a European could be a sovereign and be highly respected over a chief who had the respect of hundreds of thousands of people in his community or tribe. And he can walk into it and tell them he don't feel like he has anything right because they're going to bring somebody else's right, saying that like the Great White Father. Who's the Great White Father? The Great White Father was a chief. United States President of the United States was a commander, and he was the chief, the head chief of all the Native Americans. That's what it all comes down to. That's why there's no powerful chief here in the United States or anywhere else, because they're the Great White Father. And then people say they claim to hear it when they had ghost dances. You think they believed and respected the ghost dance when people had the Christian mix with that? They didn't give a damn about that. Still don't give a damn about that. They gave a damn about it just as much as they gave a damn about it in 1,000 years in Europe. But now you claim when you're seeing all these things, seeing these things and speaking in tongue and all that type of stuff, and all that stuff was just things that people just start to make up, because now we're in a place where you can just make up and be what you want to be. But it's not real. This is real. This is why I could go take this all the way to the Vatican. And you can't show nothing and expect me to believe something. What do I need to believe something when I know something? And I know what you don't know. But now you see it. But of course you're not going to know it, because a lot of people, when they get stuff like this, they get defensive because of the fact that that's the last resort, defensiveness. Because it's like, well, if I'm not right, then what is that? You can't be right. So you try to pick and look at something. Oh, maybe the way he said it, he didn't say it the right way. Did you hear what he said? That wasn't the right word. That's not correct. You want to try to use my grammatical errors or something as being the means to deny or say this is what it is and what is not. Oh, he didn't have, what's seminary school? He didn't go to seminary school. What is his level of education? Who does he do? Look at the crime. Maybe he's on drugs or something. The magic started same year. We got the houses. 5320, 5312, Snowflake. And there was always something interesting about that time. The magic itself. Being that later on it came back, the word itself, Disney World Magic Kingdom. And I remember when they moved the arena from Livingston to Church Street, which I didn't think was a mistake itself. It wasn't a coincidence. Just as it's not a coincidence that you see this ball as a comet, which gives the same type of motion, one, as what I said, came down out the sky that night and touched the Queen Palm and went up and then went over the roof, and then where the mall at Millennia is at now, which has the same type of thing when you look at the front, the mall itself. Orlando magic has a meaning literally. meaning. That means it's real. And one of the reasons I can say that, because just as one of the things that brought to mind was the mascot, Puff the Magic Dragon. When I first heard that mascot, it took me right back to my elementary school again. Whereas I was in a lot of plays and always was involved in a lot of things, and one of them was Christmas plays, and one of the activities was Puff the Magic Dragon. So we had Puff the Magic Dragon as like a holiday type of school play and school activity at night. And I remember the dragon and the song, Puff the Magic Dragon, Live by the Sea, and all that. So it wasn't a strange disconnect to what I'm saying, this magic, Orlando magic, and not only in the childhood, but the fact of basketball itself, sports, elementary school. I knew what it was like already at the age of 9 years old to have ribbons, red, green, blue ribbons, being a champion, being the fastest kid in the school 2 years in a row. So it's not like it was a foreign thing for me. Going into the 6th grade and playing one-on-one and coming in second out of everybody in the school, to a guy who became one of the little stars in the team itself. Going into the 8th grade and the last year, and then the 2-on-2. I remember we had a 2-on-2 basketball where I asked my brother to play with me, but he wanted to play with his buddy, and I told him, well, too bad, because you could have had a you could have had a ribbon. So he thought him and his friend were going to beat everybody, or most of the people of the team. I didn't start in the team, neither did the guy who I played with, but I knew we would win. So I remember we played against them, and we beat him and his friend, and I told him, I told you so. And then we beat everybody in that school. Then we was in the school paper, or actually in the town paper for that. So it was like this type of basketball is not unfamiliar as far as the connection itself. There's a connection there. So when I saw that in the 89 and it came back to me, and then I took another look at the symbol here, the basketball, and then thought about it, where is basketball played at? It's played in a court. Puff the Magic Dragon. It's no coincidence that since it's played in a court, and the ball itself, this court is the same as Snowflake Court, showing you that this ball representing the comet, showing you the 3 stars connected to the 3 houses. As odd, out of ordinary, ridiculous, can't be, must not, this is too much, all those things, that deniable things that I already figured it out. That's what it is. I already told you my history and my connection to basketball itself. The idea, like I said, 2 championship type of trophies and things like that in my own school. So this took me back. And that was during the time of the beans that were coming. They were still coming, and that didn't stop me from doing things in school. So this here, showing you this comet came down, hit the Queen Palm, and went over the roof, and then created the mall. So this image that came in 89, before the mall existed, when I got this before even Universal existed, it's showing you this here, the magic, the connection. I didn't have to make it up. You see it right there. I told you about the object that came down. You see 3 stars, showing you 3 houses. And I said, those stars, those houses represent Orion. You think it's a coincidence? You think you can use superficial symbolism, and then I'm giving you a real story, and then this is not real because this can't be real. One of these can't be real, or whatever. And when you eliminate the impossible, however improbable, whatever's left must be the truth. I'm talking magic. I'm showing you Osiris. I'm showing you Isis. I'm showing you Orlando. So I'm showing you all these things going back to when I first came to Orlando. I'm not just somebody who just came here and just coming up with this stuff. I'm showing this stuff going back history, going back to owning the house that the first black postal carrier had in Orlando, the history of all that, going back to St. Augustine, going back to the City of God, going back to the naming of Florida on Easter Sunday, 1513, talking about the sun. Easter Sunday, going back to Easter Sunday that's in the Vatican, that's in front of the obelisk, that's in front of St. Peter, which is St. Peter's the obelisk, just the same as it is Cleopatra's Needle. The cover-up of Osiris, showing you that's the story itself, because when you look at the bottom of the obelisk, you'll see that they tried to attribute the same type of commemoration to Augustus Caesar as they were doing to Amun-Ra, where they were showing you whether it had been Tutmosis III, son of the sun, the divine, the sun travel, the life of the sun. That's what's written on the obelisk in Central Park and in London. Just because it doesn't have the writing on it doesn't mean it's not written. But they took the same thing, but they attributed it to themselves, and they put it at the base of it, in their image. This is what's been going on all this time. So here is the magic. Remember, it used to be called the Amway, American Way. Remember it said Americana. Here it comes. May not be what you want to hear or see what you want to see, but it is what it is. You don't have to make it up. You can see it for yourself. If you don't know why that symbol was chosen, now you do. I mentioned my past experience with the name Orlando Magic and the connection, as I said, Orlando Magic, the real magic. And you see the Comet basketball with the 3 stars. And I tell you, the Puff, the Magic Dragon, Live by the Sea, the school plays, and that kind of jogged my memory at that time. But it goes a little deeper than that. The basketball. I mentioned that I played in basketball itself. I never had a problem making the basketball team. I won a trophy when I was in 6th grade out of everybody in the school. And second place itself too. One of the guys that became the star later on, not basketball team itself, a center. And in the last year of that junior high, won a 2-on-2 contest where I told you that I asked my brother to play with me, and he decided he wanted to play with his friend, and I told him he could have played with me, he could have won, because I knew we were going to win. And then we actually eliminated them, and when I left that court, told him that, so you should have played with me. So that itself led to, as I mentioned, my picture in the newspaper, receiving the trophy from our principal, Mr. Campese, West Babylon Junior High. And the girls had theirs, and me and James Cooper, who was my other guy, he played center, but he was also not a person who was didn't get much playing time, but he was, even though he was a good player. But so we both showed him who the real ballers were. And so we beat everybody. The whole team, whatever team, part of the team, we beat everybody who was supposed to be the best on the team. And not only that, I did that in a named the capitals of the United States contest back in the 5th grade. Me and a couple of guys did that. So it's not just a sport thing, winning something, but the basketball itself. It was after that when it came back when I left to go to Houston, Texas. I ended up in Florida in 1979 because my mother had moved down to Orlando. And it was a shock because I was expected to go back to school in New York, and we ended up having to move to Florida, Orlando, like right immediately. So I had to cut my trip short in Houston and come to Florida. And because school was starting that week versus going in September, this was in August. So when I got to school, I saw I was in Jones, had to go to Jones High, all black school, and I was used to, we were the minority black in the West Babylon Junior High, or the district. And it was kind of a funny feeling because of the colors of Jones High were green and orange, whereas Winanch was green and yellow, and it was kind of a funny feeling like I was in Winanch, but I know I wasn't because I'm in Florida. But then it's this weird, odd feeling that I feel like I'm in Winanch school, like it was like almost like another dimension thing when I was there. And so my brother went back to play basketball in New York. Stayed with my friends Dirk and Todd Glasgow, Lishnick Road. So when I was going to go back, I could have stayed there, but I decided, because I was working a job, working at the Westminster Towers, so I saved my money. My bank account was in Sun Bank downtown. That was my first place, Sun Bank. So then it became Sun Trust. And that's when Rosie O'Grady's was opening up. And so when I left money. My money was still in Sun Bank, and I just took what I needed with me just to get my school clothes at this place called Bach. So I had to get all the latest stuff. I got my my clothes, so tie and everything else. So when I went to school with a tie and a shirt and things like that. I wore hard shoes every day. I didn't wear sneakers. I didn't like wearing sneakers unless I was going to go play something, basketball. To me, I was a shoe man, and had taps put on my shoes so the heel didn't wear out. That's the kind of way I always dressed. They called dapper, because I felt like that was the way when I went to New York. Whenever I went to the city, we get dapper, and we go walking through the city. So when I got back to New York, I had all of my dapper stuff with me. I picked up some different dressing ideas for some guys I saw in Jones High, some guys from Philly. So I got that style too, wearing a tie every day. So when I went to Winanch, going in because I wanted to see that feeling I had in Jones High. So when I got to go to Winanch, because I wanted to stay with my grandmother, when we went to Sidon School, and then that was the first time she mentioned that she was my grandmother, because all that she was just my aunt, because she was my mother was raised as her sister, and that was one of those type of family things that people have that you don't tell the story and this, that, and the other. So that was the first time I heard it come out of her mouth when they asked her who was she to me, and she says I'm his grandmother, and I'm standing there at the principal's of the administration office when she said it. But it was always close because she used to come and pick me up as a child, so it didn't make a difference. Because I was always over her house anyway. It was always I went to all my aunt's house, and anybody, uncles, I was always glad to see them, no matter what. I walked miles just to go see them to their place. Even when I was a teenager, I'd make sure I go see them all. That's why I went to New York. When I go to Manhattan, I go see my aunts. I didn't just go there and just say I was there and not see them. I always go stop and see them. So, and that was through my grandfather, who used to take me around them. So I felt like nothing to go see them in Manhattan. Even though I'm going to go hang out and do my thing in the city, and hang out at 42nd Street and walk up and down all night, I'm gonna go see them too first before we get started. So anyway, when I was in Wyandanch, like I said, I was suit and tie every day, tie and dressed up every day, and it was an experience because I felt that back the Jones High thing, like I can walk out of Wyandanch doors and I'm back in Orlando. And that's what kind of I felt, because I didn't go to Wyandanch school first, but it was a feeling of that type of same way of seeing here with the opposites type of thing. And I was feeling that then just by that experience alone, which if you look at it, you'll see those two colors and the idea that they're both predominantly black schools, and that's what I want to feel. And then the experience of playing basketball at Wyandanch and always hear negative people who always wanted to send their kids to West Babylon schools, I guess because it seemed like some people felt like being in the white school was going to get more education than being in a black school, even though it was the same district, the same school, the Board of Education in Wyandanch, West Babylon, North Babylon, Babylon. Some people felt like that the kids would get better, I don't know how, and I kind of felt a little bit of that too, like that negativity that was always thrown at black people. And at that point I had this feeling that I didn't want to have that feeling either. I didn't want to have that feeling. I know probably black people that go to all white schools end up having that type of not being around a bunch of black people because they've been so brainwashed, and I didn't like that. I didn't being thrown into Jones High. There was more, as far as I was concerned, there was more prettier girls and things like that. So of course I wanted to go check out Wyandanch, see what they look like, what the girls look like. So when I went back, and being in the middle of the year, January, I got a lot of attention, met a lot of people, a lot of pretty girls that were in the schools I had never seen before, that during the time of going out to the Wyandanch Park where we played basketball. And so I met my father again, because at that point he took me to my sisters to meet my sisters again. I had met him once before, which comes to this point. I'm meeting my stepmother, which she's divorced now at that time, and I'd met her one time before, but then we're just talking, and she's sitting there and she's like, she felt like she was feeling bad. She says, "I didn't know about you, I'm sorry." And I'm like, I'm not understanding what she's saying as far as why she's feeling like that. She says, "I didn't know about you then. I had met her a few years earlier, but now she's telling me the story." She says, "The reason I found out about you was a friend of mine called me and told me that they saw an article in the paper, and they saw you and they saw the name, and they asked me, did I know you? Did I know him?" And she goes, "No." So she looked at the article, and then she says, "Well, let me ask Peter, about you." And she goes, "Who's this guy, this kid that's named this, that, and the other?" And that's when she found out that he told her that I was his son. And so but they were divorced and things like that. I don't know how, that was that's the way she described it. So it was through the basketball, winning that trophy, that game, that 2-on-2, that it put me in the Babylon newspaper, which for the second time, because I was in there once for a mocked election, and that's what got me close to politics and learning about paying attention to that type of environment. And so at that point, it was basketball that led me to meeting my father the first time after this officially, because he gave me the dollar bill back in 1969, the time he was going to marry. My mother was getting married to my stepfather, Charlie Brown, who was coming down to how we ended up in Florida. So it was kind of like this connection. Everything was connected. So 1969, going back to 2014, where you have the anniversary here of the Magic from 89 to 2014, you check the calendar year, you find that it's the same year as 1969, which It's no coincidence. And then the basketball Bennett, the comet itself, showing you that there's a comet that was called Bennett back then. And in this comet was the time when the beans came in, but I'm only 7 years old. And then if you look at some of the claims that even a man called Malachi York, who I had never met or known about until I went up to Coleman, had spoke about that also, that time, 1969, when he got his revelation and started talking and things like that, and the opening up of that's where Earth, Wind, and Fire in the 70s, like he said, the Mothership Connection, Parliament, Funkadelics, all that music, revelation music type of, so to speak, but never putting it together. Then to tell you that I went to Universal Studios for the first time, 2013, for Earth, Wind, and Fire concert. And that's why I first saw the ride, but I didn't see it at the daytime. But this here itself, going back to that point, the connection between 1989, 2014, where I said that, and then 1996 is when it revealed to me, which was the same year as the comet Hale-Bopp, which they had that Heaven's Gate, who claimed to have seen something coming to the comet, following the comet, a ship, which I could say I watched that thing from the beginning to the end, which is the time I put the sign up, and actually the time from the period of when Myra Roman was pregnant, carrying my son Julian, who was born April 30th, which you can take the time frame of that, you can see the connection. And I told her that he was like a little extraterrestrial coming from there. That's what I used to call it, E.T. And because he came after that object came down. So at that point, I knew when he was, even before when he was conceived, and I said that he was going to be a boy, and she told me that, she told me when she got a sonogram, asked me did I want to know what he's going to be. I told her, you already know what he's going to be. He's going to be a boy. And she said, how did you know? I said, I told you when you first told me, the first second you told me that you were pregnant, I said, it's going to be a boy. So at that point, that goes back to the magic basketball. So there's more things to this symbol here, because he was conceived in that house where it said the object came down and touched that queen palm and went up back over the roof. When I talked about the obelisk and how I ended up going back to New York, being in Park Central, reminded me of Central Park and Cleo's, and this kind of constant reminder. I had the same experience when I was in Florida the first time, coming to in 1979, when I found myself here suddenly, and how I was going to Jones High, and there was something that happened that was sort of a way of just calling and saying, come back. Because when I was in New York, I used to go to a lot of house parties, hear a lot of like rap battles, rap music, which house music, hip hop, before it was even known. We just, what we do, that's what we did on Friday, Saturday. And so being here in Florida, there was none of that going on. Nobody knew nothing about it. So to be sitting in a kitchen listening to AM radio, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, to hear this, knowing that this only meant one thing, listening to this while being here in Florida, Orlando, knowing that I was loved, always going to the city, and there's no city to hang out here, and then hearing this itself. So imagine for the first time ever hearing hip-hop playing on a radio, not in New York, not on WBLS in New York, but here in Florida, after having to move to Orlando. So if anything made me want to go back to New York more than anything else was knowing that this was like a definite straight message to go back. So this year, at this point, I knew I was going to go back to New York. So if I went back to New York, finish school. This was the same as listening to that and hearing how the obelisk was called back. The obelisk coming back to New York. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. Check it out, I'm the CAS and the OVA and the rest is FLY. You see, I go by the code of the doctor of the mix. And these reasons I'll tell you why. You see, I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a T. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got bodyguards, I got two big guns, I definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental and some new Cadillac. So after school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. I got a color TV so I can see the Knicks play basketball. Him and talking my checkbook, credit cards more money than a sucker could ever spend. But I wouldn't give a sucker or a punk from the rock and not a dime till I made it again. Everybody go, hotel, motel, what you gonna do today? Is I'm gonna get a fly girl, gonna get some spank and drive off in a death OJ. Everybody go, hotel, motel, holiday in. You see, if your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend. I'm Master G, my mellow is on you, so what you gonna do?
Well, it's on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I said a M-A-S, a T-E-R, a G with a double E. I said I go by the unforgettable name of the man they call a Master G. Well, my name is known all over the world by all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls. I'm going down in history as the baddest rapper there ever could be. Now I'm feeling the highs and you're feeling the lows. The beat starts getting into your toe. You start popping your fingers and stomping your feet and moving your body while you're sitting and you're sitting. Then damn, they start doing the freak. I said bam, right out of your seat. Then you throw your hands high in the air. You rock it to the rhythm, shake your dairy air. You rock it to the beat without a care. Cruise the short shot MCs for the affair. Now I'm not as tall as the rest of the gang, but I rap to the beat just the same. I got a little face and a pair of rhyme eyes. All I'm here to do, ladies, is hypnotize. Sing it on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on and on and on and on like a hot butter. The pop, the pop, the pop, give it, pop, the pop, pop. You don't dare stop or come alive, y'all. Give me what you got. I guess by now you can take a hunch and find that I am the baby of the bunch, but that's okay. I still keep in stride, cause all I'm here to do is just a wiggle your behind. Sing it on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on and on and on and on. Rock, y'all. Throw it on the floor. I'm gonna freak you here, I'm gonna freak you there. I'm gonna move you out of this atmosphere, cause I'm one of a kind and I'll shock your mind. I put the jig, jiggles in your behind. I say the 1, 2, 3, 4, come on, girls, get on the floor, come alive, yo, give me what you got, cause I'm guaranteed to make you rock. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, tell me one, the mic, what are you waiting for?
To the hip, hop, the hippie to the hippie, the hip, the hopper, you don't stop, rock it to the bang, bang, the boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Well, skittle-bee-bop, we rock a Scooby-Doo, and guess what, America, we love you, cause you rock in a roll with us so much so, you can rock till you're 101 years old. I don't mean to brag, I don't mean to boast, but we're like hot butter on a breakfast toast. Rock it out, a baby bubba to the boogie, then bang bang, the boogie to the beat. Beat is so unique. Come on, everybody, and dance to the beat.
So imagine hearing that down here. It felt like it was coming from another beacon, a call from outer space. That's the only way I can relate to that, hearing that here in Florida. Never hearing rap music, hip hop on the radio in New York, but for the first time here. And then at that point I knew it was meant for me to go back. That's how, just as much as you can relate to this connection as it was when I needed to go back to see the obelisk in New York, in Manhattan. Just the same as I heard that. This right here. If anything could be related to that, this would be it right here. If you can understand that. once said how, in the beginning, that it was just the layout. The gold faces. Before the gold faces was the houses. 3 houses in a row, aligned, referencing the belt of Orion. And the house at 5638 West Anderson Street, which starts off where I began visiting Orlando and at a vacation for the first time, 1972. Disney World just opens up. First people, not only on my block, street, but school, to go to Florida, come to visit Disney World. And that trip, seeing the house, and then later coming back, buying it as an adult, and then remind it back again. But before that was just that itself, just the idea that there was something to it when it all started happening rapidly, starting in 1995 August 11th, and then 1996 August 11th. But then, as the layout, before there was Millennium Boulevard, before the mall, before these streets, before recognizing Orion, there was a street that points here, that referenced, as I said, Stargate. When I said Stargate itself, I was talking about something that's connecting and telling. A street that right before you hit the entrance, a street called Kingsgate Drive, before you pass through the line, the entrance to the Great Pyramid layout, the grid, the little triangle itself, the energy. Kingsgate, the gate to go through, which also is on the same side where the houses come through, as meaning that when the house inside here, like I said, they entered like a key, with this house being inside, which is my mother's house, showing you that the layout, showing Orion reference, the Kingsgate, the Stargate, here, showing you just as you're about to enter the pyramid layout. And you see how Kingsgate kind of curves, it gives that same curve up, almost giving that Millennium Boulevard look before it was Millennium Boulevard. But then you see usually like streets align with other streets, and usually they'll pass through it and then they'll rename it again. And here we go through, and what was added just outside, past the street here, Conroy, which used to be Americana, where it says coming out of the sun ray, showing you the sun ray. Where here, instead of being called Kingsgate at the mall, it's called Eastgate. So how is it that you have the mall, I said, came out of the layout, the Great Pyramid layout. The street that is aligned with Kingsgate here is called Eastgate here. And then it goes off here, but it's Eastgate, Kingsgate. Showing you that this is the first street past the houses, the 3 houses, and this is the last street before you enter here. So you have the same reverse, the first street and the last street. So this is showing you a connection, meaning that there's a connection between Kingsgate and Eastgate, showing you that's the first street and the last street. The same is showing that this mall is connected to the layout. That this mall showing you what's inside the gate, the celestial, the image, the Orion, which is inside the mall, and then the last gate before you hit Orion Court here, which there are no other celestial constellations in this subdivision. Which almost looks like a dog itself, with an ear and a head here, like my dog Shaka, Bull Mastiff, the one that was lost, that I ended up finding the house downtown that brought everything to the point again. I like a dog star, but here, as you can see, there's only 2 courts in here. Orion Court with 8 houses, like 8 stars, and Tara Court going back this way here. So there's no more celestial messages, no more celestial names, just Kingsgate, then Orion Court inside of this layout, before and after, just as showing you the houses and the house here, referencing the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid layout, showing you the face here created by the faces of Osiris, Bush Gardens, the beer, the brewery, showing you coming forth by day, going forth by night, showing Ra and Osiris traveling here, celestial and the solar here. Then, after talking about Universal Studios, the Mummy, and all that time, referencing the billboard versus the ride, the connection, and then show that I'm connected to it by showing you the layout itself, that it was always there, just as it is here, showing you that as it is, the Mummy 70 days is placed in a point, becoming prepared to become Osiris here, just as you see here, going into the Orion to become Osiris, just as it is here. So here it is here, showing you just what the idea of going in the pyramid, going in the chamber, and the ceremony to going into Orion, become Osiris, showing you that this is mimicking the same thing, because it's the Mummy. And what is the Mummy to do? To become Osiris. So that's the goal. The goal of the Mummy, to become Osiris. And this is where I've showed you here. And then in New York it's the opposite, just as this here is showing you the New York setting, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Manhattan, 5th Avenue, but the reverse, with Central Park here showing you what would be the obelisk with the angel, avenging angel on top, versus also my aunt's place, a place that good times, just as I said, the good times I had there, referencing the Sugar Hill Gang, the music Rapper's Delight that came out in 1979, that brought me back, it took me back to New York, because nobody else I could say that in 1979, when the music Sugar Hill Gang was played, Rapper's Delight, on the radio, that there was nobody in Orlando that can relate to that music, that song, that time, more than I could. No one. I was the one going to house music, going to rap house parties and rap battles in New York before this happened. That same summer that I was in New York before leaving to Houston, Texas. And no one in Houston, Texas knew about rap. No one in Orlando knew about it, because like I said, I was in Jones High, a predominantly black school, 99% black school, and nobody knew nothing about rap music until Sugar Hill Gang was aired, and then they were asking us a bunch of questions. So no one knew about it, because if they did, we would have hooked up with them. We would have been more close with somebody who had an idea what rap music was, because it was like a foreign thing for people to understand what rap music was. And so, like I said, that music, that song from Good Times, which was the song and the summer song, which was a house party song itself in the summertime, was what that song was placed over. What it was the hook of that song. And I know when I heard Rapper's Delight, I heard Good Times. And then talk about Good Times, the song itself, it's the same as looking at the obelisk in its original versus the one in St. Peter's Square, the St. Peter's obelisk, which it is St. Peter itself, covered up and repurposed. But it's still, the story is a good story, but it's not the original story. The story sounds convincing, but it's not the original story. Good time. We're talking about the sun. We're talking about the movements. The good times I had when I was in New York, Central Park. That's why you can see it here in Universal Studios. The good time. Saying I went to New York and I worked the same time going back, I ended up at a place called King of Hearts. What is King of Hearts? On Sunrise Highway. Deck of cards, 52. In a deck of cards, talking about 52 weeks a year. Still again, talking about the sun, traveling a year, 365, 360 degrees. So we're talking about the sun, and we're talking about the days again. Good times, and then we're talking about King of Hearts, that same summer, 1980. Same time. That's why I said that if anybody heard that song back in 1979, and then the idea of where it began and how it became and propelled rap music across the nation, just on that alone, airing it, because it wasn't long after I was gone, that was the obelisk, Central Park. Just as the same as when the Pope speaks to the obelisk on Easter Sunday. And you think he's speaking to everybody else, but it's speaking to the obelisk, just to say what the obelisk called me. That's how it called me back to New York. And that's why this is here. Because again, Americana came out of the obelisk, out of its top, like a sun ray, talking about American history. There's American history right there, the genre of music. Rapper's Delight. 1979, October, November 1979. Rapper's Delight, based on Good Times. And this is the Good Times here. Like I said, this place is basically referencing my aunt's buildings on West 90th Street, because that's Central Park. And nobody else can put a closer story, a closer reference, and a reasoning why that exists like that. On top of the fact that it's New York. Enough that people can say, well, it is this, but I can tell you that's the museum in the front, the back, and then it's reverse. And you wouldn't have known unless I pointed it out to you. As strange as it may seem, however impossible, once you eliminate the impossible, whatever is left, however improbable, is the truth. And here's the truth. Remember I said it was Central Park Avenue? So you see how it says Park Avenue, Central Park Avenue in New York? This is what happens when they try to deny. They become the exhibit. Now they're my exhibit. Who's next? Who's going to deny this next? Who wants to deny me next? Who wants to deny this and say it's impossible? You rather believe less than what you've seen, and you believe that is true, but see this and question it as being something just a big coincidence. And then we wonder why people, they say, well, how come there's no intelligent beings that come down from space or come out of place and talk to us? You can't even get this. You can't even get this here. You can't see this because you've been brainwashed to believe that somehow if it doesn't come through their little the train of thought that they told you, because they know it never happened. It said in 1,000 years in Europe, nothing ever happened. It was only when they came out and did the doctrine of discovery where it seemed like it was so successful, because they were stealing people's property. They used it as to say the devil going to and fro, seeing who you can devour. And this is what happened. Then I show you that, and then you look at it as being, oh, it can't be. You'd rather see it something else and just go through it and just miss the boat. Get the gate closed on you than anything else. Go ahead and deny it all. Deny it all. Deny it all. Don't believe it. Know it.